President Trump is surrounded by the wealthiest cabinet, the wealthiest administration in modern U.S. history. Does this concern you?
I don't think it's so much about their wealth. It's just because they might have some kind of the views or some things that I don't agree, and they would push a lot of decisions and changes in our government that I wouldn't support or would like to see happen in there too. So it doesn't really follow their wealth. For me, it just follows some of these kinds of core beliefs and the things that they're willing to push and to do.
What about this idea that we're sort of creating American oligarchs?
Yeah, and I was asked Democrats, like, start talking like a regular person. Most people are not sure what an oligarch is. You know, it's like, okay, is an oligarch, is it like a rich dude or woman? Okay, well, but there's also a little secret too. Democrats, you know, we like billionaires if they're giving to our causes or to our party as well too.
But there's a difference. Hold on. There's a difference between a very wealthy donor.
It's unlimited money. It's unlimited money. That's the poison of American democracy. Get rid of unlimited money, and then that would render billionaires on either side to those kinds of a thing. And so remember, a lot of these billionaires that were in tech, they used to be more friendly to the Democratic interest in our party as well too. So,
but
unlimited money, get rid of that, and that would transform America more than any single other.
Yes, this is extremely concerning. Before we go into this full analysis of what this Hollywood actor said, Grammy award-winning singer John Legend claims President Trump believes the white race is superior. Legend, who is husband to Chrissy, said America made a terrible decision and will have to suffer the consequences for voting for Trump. Yes, if you've been following the news, you realize there is something with these Hollywood people. Every single day, they panic when they see Trump. John Legend campaigned all through for Kamala Harris, and we saw it. They were all embarrassed when they came out in numbers, and still yet, the American people took a decisions they didn't like.
America made a decision that I strongly disagree with, and it seems that we are reaping the whirlwind right now, putting someone who is a terrible leader, especially in crisis. He's already out blaming people, misinforming people, dividing people, when a smart and responsible and good political way to handle it would have been to bring people together.
Oh, absolutely. That's what you want.
Be a comforter in chief, you know?
Why do you think that he's latched on to diversity so much?
Oh, he's a bigot, so. It's a belief that there's a hierarchy of racial groups and that his group is superior, genetically superior. He believes that.
Right.
Whenever he talks about competence and qualifications, any white man will do for him. Look at the last guy who was Secretary of Defense. He was a 4-star general, supremely qualified black man. And then see who he puts in after him. That's the level of bigotry that he has. Any white man is better than that.
You see the problem? Look at this. Like I said, if you see people constantly circulating things around race, there are problems, and this guy is just one. And they just point out the reasons why he hates Trump. I want to know the instance where Trump is struggling to divide people. I want to know. Because what he's claiming here is not true. At a certain point, when I look at John Legend, he's not a legend to me anymore. At first, I used to have a different impression about this guy. Now going into this Hollywood actor, the office star Rainn Wilson and MSNBC Stephen claims Elon Musk and Donald Trump are responsible for the public distrust of the mainstream media. Wilson, 40% of Americans don't trust mainstream media. Why is that? How did we get here? Trump has been calling these people fake news for a very long time. People don't realize until now. Why are Democrats more involved now into podcasts? Something we didn't see before.
Any wall would cost billions of dollars and have very limited effectiveness.
But the concept of stop the overstaying of visas, I guess, doesn't have the same ring to it as build that wall.
It doesn't. But you build a wall and someone else is going to build a higher ladder. I just want to point something out to our colleagues over at Fox and Friends. I don't think there's anyone who is saying a life of a child in Idaho or Iowa means less than someone on the other side of the border. I think this is about humanity and the mistreatment of children. And if you are so worried about how every American child is treated, think about the money that is being blown, that is being spent, that is being flushed down a toilet for this political theory. You do not see the majority of drugs pour into our country on foot. That is not true. And having a wall isn't the only option for border security.
Jesus saying on the night he was handed over to suffering and death, in the words of the right, he commanded us to love one another as I have loved you. And I think that was the guiding star for this Pope.
Blessed are the meek. Juxtapose that, though, John, with how different that is with where we are as a society right now, not just Americans, but Europeans around the world, how this anti-immigrant movement has risen up. Well, you have a Pope who over and over made it his mission to talk about the importance of protecting those who are most vulnerable.
Well, you have, democracy and Christianity, and this is not to get into Christian nationalism and the often unhealthy blending of faith and power politics, but democracy and Christianity have a great deal in common. It requires us to see one another as fellow children of God. And that may sound grand or soft somehow, but that is, in fact, the motive force of democracy.
Yes, this was just for you to understand their stance on issues, what this lady has been doing on MSNBC, what she's going to struggle to do here.
Percent of Americans don't trust mainstream media. Why is that? How did we get here?
Listen, we are seeing a huge loss in trust of all of our institutions. It's the media, it's medicine, it's banking. It's a huge problem because when you think about democracy and all of these pillars, they need to stand tall, they need to stand strong. And sort of losing that trust is not by accident, it's by design. If you remember when President Trump was running the first time, Steve Bannon once said, the goal is to blow the whole thing up. And so I think that you've got mistakes made or things starting to slip, while at the same time there's a concerted effort to destroy the media. Because the media, the news media, is, in my opinion, the last line of defense of holding power accountable, right? And you had a bit of a perfect storm, right? President Trump won, and tons of people were shocked or angry or frustrated, and they're tuning out. And at the same time, you have the Elon Musk media machine, because they want you to leave traditional media, and they want you to go to X, which is a bastion of misinformation, where there is no fact checking. So it's
Pause.
This is how you lie. Then you tell me how people will trust you. There is fact check on X, community known. If you do something, people will easily read that, or even bring you sources of what you've posted if you're trying to lie. So I don't get the point why these people continue to spew this every single day.
I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm tuning out, I'm disconnecting. And then you have a force pushing it. But even in the last 2 weeks, what we need to do is just cover what's happening in America, right? We have to cover Democrats trying to figure out what their lane is and how they're going to get back on their feet. And we have to simply cover what this White House is doing. And I think if we do that, right, there's that saying, trust is gained in raindrops and it's lost in buckets. And it's not yes, you're not incorrect that the media has lost trust.
This is where I would push back. When I see this kind of insight and passion being directed at the current administration, and the lack of this kind of insight and passion being directed at the previous administration, where, again, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about left-leaning news media organizations were kind of like, la, 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 everything's fine. Look, the economy's great, la, 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 immigration's not that much of a problem. And really being Cleopatra, queen of denial. Thank you, boom.
This is the truth. I'm actually shocked that this Hollywood actor is telling them this. It's amazing, to see people, I actually thought they were not really good people in Hollywood that understand exactly what these Democrats were doing. I didn't imagine there would be a day I'm agreeing with some of these people. Wow. It's amazing, right?
Back on immigration, I can specifically remember when Greg Abbott of Texas and Ron DeSantis of Florida sent those buses of migrants to different cities, different parts of the country, which ended up being politically genius for both of them. The media regularly talked about the fact that Biden was not doing enough.
Of DUI hires, right? But,
I don't think that, honestly, policy is what we need to be fighting about. Because guess what? Can't nobody tell you what Donald Trump's policies were at all. Like, you ask them, like, what policies? I don't know, but he going to bring down the cost of eggs. But last time I checked, that didn't happen, right?
Thank you guys for always been sharing out my videos. God bless you abundantly. If you see any clips after this, that is just for the YouTube algorithm.
What if he says self-defense?
There's no self-defense, because if you are afraid the day before, where you have to take them to school, why not notify your parents? Parents, you notify the school teachers. School teachers, let's bring these kids in here and resolve this issue. It's called conflict resolution.
Again, the evidence is still coming in.
This is definitely a self-defense case, because it always is one until you look.
Followers for anything, and then the
Registration Act is.
Thank you guys for always been sharing out my videos. God bless you abundantly.
we start talking about this man kill.
because when I look at something like this, these proposals, I want to know why, and I want to know who's making them. And so when I looked into that, they're saying that the U.S. birth rate is declining. However, in 2024, there was a 1% increase in U.S. births, but that increase